Okay, so I picked this one because those four horns that he's speaking about are the same four kingdoms that was in Nebuchadnezzar's image and dream, and the four beasts we're talking about right here. Okay? These are the four nations that have caused Israel so much problem, so difficult, that God has listed them. Babylon, Medo-Persian Empire, the Grecian Empire, and the Roman Empire. Okay?
My book says here, it says Assyria, Egypt, Babylon, and Medo-Persia.
So, yeah, some have different interpretations of that. You know, because there was other countries that gave them a hard time, you know. Almost everybody gave them a hard time, to be honest with you, okay? But it's interesting to note that when it comes to prophecy, in the world prophecy, that God lists those four. Okay? So that's why I think these horns he's talking about here, four horns, are the four horns that he has mentioned in prophecy. So, back in Daniel, it says in this verse 25, he shall change times. What do you think about that? Yeah, and it gives attention to Jesus Christ, the thing the Antichrist doesn't want. The other thing, I think, is our 7-day week. Saturday was a seventh day for the Jews in their laws to keep it holy. It was the Sabbath. Sunday is a Christian under grace. We celebrate what. Why do we do that? Anybody know?
Because that's when Christ was resurrected.
There you go. It was right, Richard. It was the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So that's why we have Sunday services. That's why we do things on Sunday like that. I think he's going to change those. He's going to change a week. Who knows to what? 8-day week or something. Something to nullify, demean, and put away any reference to Jesus Christ. Okay? Same way with the laws. What are our laws? Our laws, all the laws around the world are based off the Mosaic law.
No, I just
He's going to change that. He does.
I just thought of something when you said that, too.
Yeah.
Cornerstone Christian Fellowship
What's that?
starts its service at 5 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
Saturday.
Saturday.
6 o'clock
Yeah.
is the switch over to Sunday.
Gee, we could be Seventh-day Adventists.
There we go. I had it all planned out.
Don't even go there, right?
Does the Sabbath end at 6 p.m. on Saturday? Does it start?
Yes.
Yes.
According to
Sun,
Jewish law.
sunrise, sunset. Yeah.
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 Because
Oh, yeah.
God
Orthodox.
created everything that when he did, there's like the first day, and then all the others, he said the evening and the morning were the first day.
Right.
Not midnight, not morning. So they come over the Greco calendar or whatever you want to call it. Man's got it all screwed up.
So we have a description of this little horn, and everything about God, he's attacking. Everything, okay? But it's interesting, just keep that in mind, so, and that's why we call him the Antichrist, to oppose God face to face. That's what that means. Antichrist is posing face to face. He does that, but then the guy mimics God. Does it in the Old Testament. Not just the beast, you have three beings there. Okay? And what's that? That's a mockery of the Trinity. That's what it is. So it's kind of funny the way when you start thinking about pride, arrogance, how it can make you do some stupid stuff. And the devil, Satan, is no different. Okay, he has done some pretty stupip stuff. Okay, verse 26.
I had a question.
Oh yes.
Okay, so do you think that that's why we're starting to see in America the doing away with law and order, where people are they don't want law and they don't want order, they don't want police?
Absolutely. One of the things when I was teaching the book of Revelations, I said, I put in there the nature of the end times. What you're speaking of, Ron, about in America seeing all this disorder and everything. I believe, it's going to be tough. It's not in Matthew, I know that. I'll say it's in Luke, either chapter 18 or chapter 21. He says, those days will be like the days of Noah. And it said they'll marry and give in marriage, something else and something else. But it was a nature. It wasn't like the sign will be here. It had to do with our nature and like the days of Noah. Well, what was the days of Noah like? You know, we don't have a whole bunch of information on it, except God was displeased with the world, and the end of it was coming to his face. That's what it says. So, yeah, I believe this is part of it. Two things to watch for when you're talking about end times and Jesus coming back. One is, and this is a lesser, the condition of the world. Because honestly, it's cyclic. Sometimes we seem to be good, and other times we're horrific. There's no other way to put it, okay? And that's just appearances. And we look at the world and go, oh, this is happening or this is happening. But the other sign is inward, is in the church. It talks about the end days, deceivers coming in. It talks about wolves in sheep's clothing. It talks about people will not listen to sound doctrine anymore. So there's an inward signage, if you will, too, about the end times. And I look towards that a little bit more than what I look towards the world. And what I'm seeing in the Christian world is end time scary. Okay? I was looking, because chapter 8 is so... I was looking at just a ton of people's opinions and ideas about the chronology of the book of Revelations. And some of the stuff out there, they're just dreaming up and sticking in there. I'm going, you know, what verse is that in? It's not even there. I'm going, what are you talking about? You know, and you know what? I've gone through it. I've read it. God bless me. But there's people out there, sheep. They don't know anything. Really don't. And they start looking at stuff like that and go, oh, I didn't know that. You know, and it's concerning. It's a great deception.
We've got so many professing Christian churches out here too. They're not teaching the
I'd like to disagree with you, but I can't.
Well, they're not teaching the doctrine of Christ and God. They're teaching their own
And,
they call themselves Christians.
yeah, and over all of it, what does the Bible say? There'll be a apostasia, a great falling away from truth. That's in the church and out the church both. So those are things, we look at today and go, that stuff's happening. It's happening right before our eyes. If you're walking in darkness, if you don't know the Lord, you don't see any of that. You see the world, it's going through its cycles again. We'll get better or we'll get worse or whatever, But verse 26 says this, but the judgment shall sit, in Daniel chapter 8, or 7, I'm sorry. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. You know what caught me about that verse? Anybody see something strange about that verse?
The judgment will sit.
Well, it says his power will be taken away, completely destroyed forever.
The word they. Did you catch that? But the judgment shall sit.
I don't have the same translation.
Oh, King James says, King James says, but the judgment shall sit. Now, I'm stretching, that's okay, but there's a day coming when Jesus Christ will come back to this earth. He will sit down on a throne and he will rule. And then it says this, and they, that's plural, shall take away his dominion. And what does the Bible say about us? We will reign as kings and priests with him. And it says, we come back with him to make war. Okay? So the they, I believe, is us. That's my opinion. Okay? And we're going to, his dominion and take away his is that little horn, okay? His dominion, they'll destroy it unto the end. So, we talk about the Antichrist. People talk about the Antichrist and the beast and all this and get all wound up about it. Hey, bottom line, this guy's going to end. He comes to end. He doesn't win. Okay? He comes to an end, and you read in Revelation, he ends up in the lake of fire. So, verse 27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. There you go, right there. You can reference that to the verse that says we'll reign as kings and priests, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Okay, so we are going to reign with him here on the earth. And by the way, I just want to remind you, we are talking about not heavenly kingdoms, not spiritual kingdoms. We're talking, this is tangible. We're talking about earthly kingdoms. Okay? And I believe that verse 27 is clearly talking about the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. Okay? So, there you have it. This is the second vision of Daniel, and in our handout, wherever I did with it, that's the wrong handout. Here's the right handout. And in our handout that somebody did online that I'm happy for, you can see the correlating kingdoms of the image of Nebuchadnezzar with this chapter 7's beast. And that's basically what they correlate. Now, the legs up there are Eastern Church and Western Church. It actually was Eastern Empire and Western Empire. They did, by that time, were both a Christian empire. Anyhow, you can see that the beast there, and then at the end, you see the Antichrist, little horn of Daniel, and it gives you references to that. But they correlate, and this is the end of it. Daniel interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream, right? Then God gives him a vision, same thing with just some different pictures. And the pictures, the imagery, I should say, adds some definition to Nebuchadnezzar's, okay? We get a little bit more information dealing with these 4 major kingdoms, and then the 10-nation kingdom, and this other horn that's coming up, this other person. And verse 28, Daniel says this, "Hitherto is the end of the matter." He says, "As for me, Daniel, he says he was troubled, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart." So, after going through this chapter,
It's a lot to keep to yourself, isn't it?
Dee said it's a lot to keep to yourself. Wow, what a statement. You know what? He kept the matter in his heart. You're going to learn, I'm just going to go over there real quick and share with you. Daniel has another vision, okay? Chapter 8. It's going to deal with the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and then it's going to deal with the little horn again. But at the end of that vision, he says, "And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it." He shared it. So he's got vision of 7. He comes to another vision of 8. I guess he just, I got to tell somebody, I got to express this somehow. So how does this vision make you feel? What are your feelings about this? Relevance to us?
Well, I like the way it ends.
The ending. The ending is awesome. You know what? I've said this from the pulpit a bazillion times. We win.
Yeah.
We win. I like that.
Satan loses again.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that, I think, Dee, is not only does Satan lose, but me personally, have a direct involvement in defeating him. And it goes back to the verse, I'm going to say, in fact, I know it is. It's in Isaiah 14. Read Isaiah 14. It's all about Lucifer. And it says down there in that in chapter 14 somewhere, it says, we are going to look upon him and say, is this the man who shook the nations? We'll be astonished that, is this a guy I was worried about all this time? So we get direct involvement, everyone here gets direct involvement. Kicking his bottom, pardon me, but, you know,
We know that God and Christ and the Holy Spirit are the ones that are going to kick his butt. We're just reading God's word, and we're using that two-edged sword
yeah,
to go after him.
yeah,
Faith is sealed from the beginning.
yeah.
Because, once you start reading God's word, he's running. So we've got our weapon
Yeah.
right here.
The other thing it makes, for me, it's kind of a two-edged sword since you brought that up. One is, the plan of salvation is enormous. It's enormous. Who could have thought of a plan like this but God? Huh? Who could have done that? And put this all together over thousands and thousands of years. Okay? And we worry about, well, tomorrow I got to go here or there. God has had this planned out for millennials, for thousands of years. Yeah, he said the plan of salvation was laid before the foundations of the earth. That, you know, so, but on the flip side of that sword, kind of makes me feel kind of small, too. I mean, I'm looking at this great man Daniel, and everything he writes comes to pass, and all the kings and kingdoms, how they were moved by God to make these things happen. And I was just sitting in here, well, here I sit in Reno, you know. So sometimes I, when I read these great things like this, I feel
Was it David that said,
small.
what is the gods, or what is man that thou art mindful of him?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and yeah.
the
It,
goodness of God.
yeah, what a great verse, Dee. What is man that God is mindful of him? Oh man. Pastor Ron preached something. He had a verse. I believe it was in Isaiah, but something to the effect that God considers the small things. And with the details and plans to make these things work out, especially during the time of the four generals, Greek generals. You're going to read about that in chapter 11. You can read all about it also in Esther, which is the same time period. How he made things happen, you know, just amazing. Just amazing. So that's the relevance to me. I just in awe of God, and it builds my trust. Look, all these things came to pass. That 10-nation kingdom's coming to pass. That little horn is coming up. The other four did. Why would I think anything else? And it's not just the four, but he talked about that. He talked about the two kings of Medo-Persian, and how one will rise above the other. King Cyrus. How the four kings after Alexander the Great, who was cut off, okay, who was just at the age of 33. He knew all these things, all these details, all these kings, okay. It puts trust in me. Okay, I don't need to be worrying about all this stuff, like Psalms 37 says, fret not, fret not. Okay, hard to do though, isn't it? Easy to say, but hard to do, because we worry about so many things, and Jesus says you can't add one cubit to your life worrying about other things like that.
You just mentioned the where it says fret not. That just means we're not supposed to play the guitar.
And I think that helps. It helps in our daily life. It really does. I met a man years ago. I'm going to be closing with this. How did I meet this guy? Oh, I married his daughter to a guy. That's how I met him. This guy, he was word of faith to the extreme. And he says, you know, I got to the stop sign and I asked God, should I turn left or right? And I said, pardon me? I said, didn't you know where you were going before you took off? No. I just thought, oh, am I going to be in counseling with this young couple? Yeah. You know, I like what my first mentor said. See that thing that's above your neck? It's not a hat rack. God gave you a mind to use, okay? And he'll give you directions in that mind. But which way to turn, left or right? Come on. Next week we will start chapter 8, and I'm going to tell you, Pastor Ron says, I would take notes. You're going to be taking some serious notes on this one, because this one has a period of time, 2,300 days, and they don't fit well into any of the prophecies. That amount of days is 6 years, 3 months. And so I will give you the prevailing views, and then I'm going to give you my view. And I'll tell you why those prevailing views, even though they're believed by the biggest scholars of our time and before, I just don't think they pan out. They just don't pan out. But it's going to be kind of intense. We're going to be in Revelations. I may even give you a chronological handout of the book of Revelations that I don't totally agree with, but I can't find one that I do. And that's okay. But it's going to be interesting. I encourage you to read Daniel 8 once over and see what you feel. But you get into that number with scholars, and you're going for a ride. I'm going to tell you that right now. So, but it should be fun and interesting. I'll tell you what I did. I made a mistake years ago, because I've taught Daniel a lot of times, okay? And for some reason, my brain looked at that number and changed it to 1,260 days. And I made mistakes. It doesn't say that at all. And so when I was looking at it this time, and I read through it, I said, wait a minute. That's not 3.5 years. Holy moly, that's 6 years and 3 months. So we'll have fun with it anyhow. And I hope that you'll enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed chapter 7. It's an affirmation of what Nebuchadnezzar saw. And it was many years after, under King Belshazzar, in the first year, it says. And then chapter 8 will be, this next vision will be in the 3rd year of Belshazzar's reign. Okay? So all these visions we're seeing, he's seen them before the Medo-Persian Empire came into power. So it should be interesting. Anyhow, Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for everyone that was here. I pray, God, that you'll bless their evening, that they'll have the peace that passes all understanding. And Father, their thoughts and minds will be on your word and your presence tonight. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.